Croeso and welcome to Beyond the Track podcast. My name is James, the coach, commentator, lecturer and endurance runner.
And I'm Jenny Nesbitt, GB distance runner.
In this podcast, we're going to be going beyond the track, talking to the very best athletes and sports professionals in Wales and beyond.
We hope you leave better informed and a little bit more inspired about running and athletics.
Welcome to the 13th episode of Beyond the Track. My name is James Thee, delighted to be joined by Harrison Walsh and Jenny Nesbitt. As you can see, I'm back in the house and some amazing shoes were filled by Harrison whilst I was away. Thank you for doing such a great job, Harrison. How was your weekend and how was your time hosting the podcast?
Oh, well, firstly, thank you for having me and also, big shoes to fill. No, I had a great weekend, chilling out just before Worlds. Well, thank you very much for having me on it. And I'm glad to be back with the main man.
No, you smashed it. You absolutely smashed it. And Jenny, one of our featured races, saw you up north at the weekend.
I was at the Great North Run. It was my first time doing the full iconic course. I did it in 2021 maybe, when it was the COVID year. And we went out 6 miles and back 6 miles. And at that point, I vowed never to return again. But yeah, here I am.
British Championships back. And a headwind, I hear.
Yeah, it was horrendous, to be honest. For a net downhill course, it's very uphill. And it was a 12 miles of headwind. So the last mile was great. I felt amazing. But aside from that, it was a bit of a tough day, but really good fun. And probably the most fun I've had in a race for a really long time, to be honest.
Position, time?
I was 8th overall, second Brit, which is a nice payday. And
silver medal, British Championships.
Silver medal at British Champs, and a time of 74:12, I think. Which isn't a very fast time, but that's kind of reflected from the conditions of the day as well. I think everyone was a little off their best performances, just because most of the time you were getting pushed backwards rather than pushed forwards. So,
and a silver medal for another Ponty rodent as well.
There was, yes, my teammate Jake Smith. He was there on the weekend too, and he had another really good race. He ran 1 hour 3 and 19 seconds to finish second Brit and 5th overall as well. And I actually got the pleasure of spending Thursday to the middle of Monday morning with him. So
back at 3 a.m. and making it in for the podcast.
As a layman, how much does the conditions affect your performance? Or
it makes a massive difference, especially in a course like the Great North Run where it's point to point, so you don't start and finish in the same place. You basically run from Newcastle down to South Shields, which is on the coast, and the wind's just fully in your face for the whole time. So usually you'll turn around at some point and you kind of get back what you lose.
Yeah.
But because it's just point to point,
of course,
on those sort of days, it's just kind of relentless.
And that leads to that slower time overall.
Absolutely, yeah. And I mean, even the winning times of the races were slower than kind of on average as well.
But did you get a lift from that mile where you're surrounded by the crowds? And
100%, honestly. So, because there was no one ahead of me, but they were a minute down the road, and the girl behind me was 45 seconds behind. So when I turned on to South Shields, and there's it's a straight mile basically to the finish line, it was literally me and nobody else, and the crowd was insane. It was I felt like the main character. I was having the best time ever. And honestly, it was probably as loud, if not louder, than the Commonwealth Games in 2022. So a massive boost, and I think it makes me want to go back now.
It goes back to the point I make almost every week, which is we're just always so jealous of you guys, how good your races are, how good your comps are organised. So.
Well, you love a headwind, don't you?
Oh,
in
yeah,
discus,
yeah,
so
yeah,
it's all about the headwind in the discus.
We could, I don't know, throw in South Shields or
maybe we get a comp up there in the not too distant future. But what a weekend for sport in Cardiff. It was the Brecon-Carrod CDF 10K at the weekend, but not just that. Geraint Thomas saying farewell Tour de France cycling, great, Welsh great. So it was just such a buzz around the city. But great to see the numbers out, the masses, Jen, in the 10K, and there were some great results, weren't there?
Absolutely. I was almost kind of jealous I was up north, because I'd have loved to be in Cardiff yesterday just to kind of experience the atmosphere as well. But the 10K, I've done the course before, it's a really good race, really fast actually. And I think aside from the rain, which is typical in Cardiff, the conditions were pretty decent. And I think that reflected in Natasha Wilson's performance. She won the elite women's race in a brand new PB of 32:49, I think. So she was super happy with that.
Yeah, I saw her post. I think she went out a little bit fast.
Bit hot.
First mile, I think it was about 5 flat. But yeah, she held on well. It shows she's in really good shape. And she wanted to finally crack that 33-minute mark.
Absolutely. So she's definitely done that. And she said she's off to Copenhagen next weekend for the half marathon, which is another super fast course. So be good to see if she can get close or just under that 70-minute barrier for the half. And it's looking like it's trending in the right direction.
Yeah, she's in shape, and Copenhagen's fast, and I'll be out there doing commentary as well. So Olivia Sims was second, Ponty Roden at the weekend as well. So she's backing up some really good form in the series as well. And then there was some other really good performances. I think the men's winner was I think they went 29-27. Omar Ahmed, wasn't it? So really consistent performers, and I think Dan Nash, and there was a Ponty wave, wasn't there?
I did hear. So Dave, my partner, he came fifth actually. So he was part of that Ponty wave, and said it was a great competition up to about 9.5k when his wheels dropped off and the others moved forward.
There was second, third, fourth, and fifth. I think. So,
so good day out for Ponty.
You talked about wheels dropped off, and Owen Terrell, he had a puncture during the race, but still comes in at 30 minutes.
Oh wow!
Punctures are a real tough thing for wheelchair racers in 10Ks and stuff, and especially if you're in the morning and you've just had people might be on a night out or something like that. They've got to be really careful on the lines they choose. So that'll be a good lesson for him going forward in the next couple of races, because he's got to really push that time on.
Oh, absolutely!
But it's great effort from Owen.
Yeah, it's all about experience, isn't it? Sometimes when that happens in those races, what happens when things go against you, coming back and winning, still fantastic work.
Yeah, and chair maintenance for those guys is, you talk about shoe and...
Absolutely. I couldn't imagine turning up to a race
it's a big thing for those guys to learn.
falling apart.
It'd be great. Yeah, exactly.
Literally, same sort of thing.
And then still going performance so well.
Yeah,
so it's amazing to see.
Really good too.
But then, the rain, the crowds, and then, the Tour of Britain cycling race, and it was a farewell to one of Wales's absolute greats. So I think, hats off to the council, hats off to everyone involved in any of those events yesterday.
Being an event organiser must be one of the most challenging things to kind of logistically achieve.
But we've talked about how much it lifts you when you do get it right.
Absolutely.
You imagine the buzz. I wouldn't imagine doing 10K, but I imagine the buzz of Cardiff itself. I know what it's like when you get that atmosphere in a competition.
And hopefully really inspiring for kind of younger athletes coming through in the sport as well.
Yeah, and also Geraint Thomas is retired from cycling, but if he wants to take up distance running, then I'm sure he'll be more than welcome.
Sure, he can have a space to start line.
7,800 runners took part in the 10K yesterday and the 2K as well. So again, I think it was the biggest ever Brecon Carrig CDF 10K in the history.
What is Cardiff like to race? Is it a hilly race?
It's a pretty flat race and a really good atmosphere, to be honest. They've done really well with the course. I know there was an additional UE at 9.5k this year, but apart from that, it's a fast one.
So it's one to do then.
Absolutely, yeah. If you're looking for a good 10k, put it on your list.
Yeah, it's just another one that just builds to the CV of really good 10Ks in the area. But there was also other racing, wasn't there, Jen, at the weekend?
There was.
Other half marathons.
There was. It was the big half in London.
Yeah.
Another really iconic race, really.
Yes.
And it's a shame, I think, that the Great North and the Big Half have fallen on the same weekend.
Yeah.
Because it really does splinter the competition, and people have to pick and choose where they want to go. But it was another, great weekend down in London. We had Olympian Clara Evans-Graham. She was competing in the half marathon in the elite women's race, finishing a time of 1:16:40. I know she's probably not too pleased with that, and I think she's perhaps struggled a little bit coming back from injury and stuff. We've got to remember she basically tore the tendon in her foot only about 5 or 6 months ago. So I think, just kind of good to see her back competing and kind of throwing herself amongst kind of the elite competition. And that race was won by Jess Warner-Judd in 70:35. And she's got a remarkable story, to be fair. She had an awful year last year, diagnosed with epilepsy and some really, challenging times during some track races. So it's good to see her back out there competing and winning.
Well, what was nice at the weekend, she collapsed at the European Championships in Rome, but the amount of messages from athletes at the weekend just loving the fact Jess was out there and winning. It's great to see. And, I think she's going to go on to have, a really strong road career now. And I think, the marathon's the next for Jess Judd, I think. Yeah,
absolutely. So hopefully I'll see her on the roads a little bit more.
It's just amazing to see people getting back into it, right? We're all going to be at that point at some point in our career, and then just seeing how well people can come back. It's just uplifting, isn't it? It just makes you want to go and achieve things.
Absolutely, yeah.
Talking about other half marathons, there's 3 on in one weekend. Is that normal?
Road racing season's here, Harrison.
It comes thick and fast.
There was one up north, wasn't there, Harrison?
Yeah, you've got the Carnarvon half marathon.
Yeah.
Which starts at the castle and finishes at the castle, which must be amazing. Have you ever done it before?
Well, the castle relay starts there and then disappears. So, but I haven't done it there. So, but it's a beautiful castle, beautiful area. So, but I'm sure it's undulated, maybe.
Yeah. So, and it was won by Thomas Roberts with 1 hour 11 minutes and 26 seconds. Which is, it's always fascinating to see the difference in times from, you can literally see each race, how different the times are, different conditions.
It's so hard to compare, and you can never compare course to course. It's like cross country in a way.
Well, it's like all events, right? If I throw a discus in one event in a different place, they're always going to be different conditions. So that's always important for people to
understand
consider,
and recognise.
Right? And then the first female finisher was Emma Alofs of CB Striders. Pretty amazing work. She finished with a time of 1 hour 27 minutes and 49 seconds.
So really good to see so many people out, and the running boom is in full swing at the moment. Races are selling out before they've even gone live, pretty much, which is amazing to see.
And I'll say again, we're always very jealous of the amount of cool competitions you guys have, and just the atmosphere you manage to get in all events. It's something for other events really to look at and to really investigate how we can get that across all athletics, I think.
Agreed. That's our roundup. So I am super excited about the start of the 2025 World Athletics Championships in Tokyo, 13th to the 21st of September. The 20th edition, the second time the event's been in Tokyo. 2,000 athletes from 200 countries, 24 men and 24 women's events, and 1 mixed relay event. And I think they're expecting around about 700,000 spectators. It's going to be live streamed on the BBC, BBC Two. Jen, I bet you're excited about watching the World Champs. We're going to be some funny hours of getting up and watching some of the events. But on a global scale, it's phenomenal, isn't it?
Absolutely. I mean, I'm just an avid viewer of the sport, so I will be tuning in to watch everything, maybe on repeat for those middle of the night sessions for us. But it's amazing. The World Champs is an incredible competition, and I think, aside from perhaps the Olympics, it is the one thing many athletes kind of aim for. It is the Olympics without the multisport, really. The same athletes go there, the same kind of level of competition. And I think it just brings the best out in a lot of athletes. The only thing I would say is perhaps for the marathon, and coming from kind of a road running kind of background, it's not the biggest event of the year, and you can see that kind of by kind of Kali Thackeray, for example. She's competing in the 10,000 metres, and she's going on to run Chicago Marathon later in the year. So I think maybe that's a slightly watered down event, but apart from that, it's the superstars of our sport, and it's amazing to watch.
Yeah, in the track and in the field, there's going to be nowhere else to look. It's going to be phenomenal. And yourself, Harrison, you're heading off to the World Para Championships a few weeks later. So, going to watch those World Champs. Will that get your kind of pulse raising ready and get you excited?
Yeah, well, for us, obviously, the Paralympics always follows the Olympics as well. We always seem to be getting the motivation from the Olympic guys or World Champs before. Yeah. So it is always great, actually, for us in that sense. Looking at some of the weather that's going on in Tokyo at the moment, I remember being in Tokyo and having those rainstorms. So it's going to be very interesting to see how kind of some of those athletes cope in that environment. I was pretty much in Tokyo about the same time, Paralympics obviously running after. So that'll be really cool to see. And then, going on to Delhi, where I'm going to be at the moment, is very similar kind of weather in that tropical kind of that band. So, yeah, getting prepped for the big bugs and the rain. It's going to be great.
What was it like competing in that stadium? Obviously, athletes are going back. And
Yeah.
it's a massive stadium.
That's what I think. I was lucky enough to go. I competed in Kobe in Japan last year, and they really embraced it then because, you think they'd been prepping for that Olympics for so long, and then not to have the games. They really, really embraced it. The stadiums were pretty full. So I'm not surprised there's going to be 700,000 people going there, especially in the stadium that wasn't used. It's going to be a crazy environment. And if anything, I'm just jealous for those guys because that stadium was, fantastic. Hopefully it stays off the rain because I remember the rain was torrential there. Really
I think that's going to be an important factor that it could hit, especially some of the field events as well. It can really change dynamics, can't it?
It really changes the field.
The Diamond League as well the other week, where I don't know if you saw the video of the long jump, they were literally bucketing the water out of the runway. So
with a cone,
with
someone
a cone.
had a cone.
It's always a cone.
Athletes are going in prepared, I think, and you have to at that level. You have to prepare for all kind of situations.
And also, have you seen the warm-up tracks? 15 kilometres away from the field of play.
So it's because it was right.
Yeah,
next
there was a track there that I think they ripped up and maybe built. Obviously, housing around there. But so you've got to get on apparently it'd be a super fast shuttle.
Yeah,
that is a brand new dynamic, though, isn't it?
Can you imagine warming up 15 kilometres away from where you're actually going to go out?
Saying that as a thrower, used to having to be on the other field. You're over there. You're over there.
But James, you've regularly supported with commentary at World Champs. You've been a team coach. You've just been to St. Moritz actually for the prep camp. What are your experiences of the championships? What can athletes expect? Take us through the perhaps behind the scenes things that people don't necessarily see.
Yeah, so obviously there's holding camps, as you both know, and obviously event disciplines sometimes go separate places. Obviously a lot of the endurance fraternity will go up to St. Moritz because of high altitude. And therefore, you've got some members of staff there that are brought in by British Athletics to support those athletes. A lot of them got their own personal coaches as well, but some of them are, the personal coaches have, either full-time jobs or careers. For example, you had Laura Muir up there and Steve Cram's a coach, so Steve was coming back to commentate.
I was speaking to Steve yesterday,
at the Great North Run, and then he's going out to commentate in Tokyo. So you're looking after athletes that are so experienced. But there's obviously, as we all know, holding camps are about pushing that final, bit of the envelope, because you're going to compete against the world's very best. No one's undercooking themselves to a point of not going in the best shape. But, it's that fine line about being, ready and just doing, a bit too much. And that high altitude has a little bit of, obviously, a stress on the body as well. We're driving down to Chiavenna, which is down a little bit of a hairpin drive down to Italy, where they can train at more sea level and it's a little bit warmer as well, and then drive back up. So, it's fascinating to watch athletes in that final prep. Privileged to see it. And, it's exciting now to sit back. Pressure's off me now. I've done my pacing on the bike. I've done my my supporting on my feet as well. I did a few miles yesterday with Callie Thackeray as well yesterday.
Uploads, and I thought you were running a bit quicker than the norm.
Yeah, blame Callie or the likes of Gemma Reiki for that. But the great things now, I get to sit back and watch it, but also just know some of the real hard work. And sometimes you're really privileged in yourselves in holding camps. You see stuff that is as good as competition sometimes that no one's seeing other than you, and you go, good athletes or world-class athletes doing stuff that is just phenomenal.
Holding camp is one of the coolest places to be just before a champs because, like you said, you're seeing some performances. You've got people starting to go in their own world, how they compete, and you can easily overcook a holding camp. I think as a young athlete, you go in and, if you're very young, you're quite resilient. It doesn't matter too much. You're going to be so excited. But when you start getting into the later ages of your career, you need to really nail down what you need to do in that holding camp. And then you've got people like yourself who are there to facilitate that. But then from your point of view, it's exciting to hear you so excited to see other people getting ready. You can see just the dials turning up. Yeah. Everything feels nice, Oh, I'm excited now. You got me going.
It is. And obviously there's medals that are going to be hard fought for, but there's also a huge amount of prize money as well. at the World Champs. So it's I think it's $8.5 million. So the winner gets $70,000 and $35,000 for second and $22,000 for third. There's prize money, obviously, that will be on offer for the relays. They'll be fighting hard for that, and world record bonuses. Mondo Duplantis has probably already
He's eyeing that one up.
He's already cashed that check. Just a cool $100,000. It'd be interesting to see whether World Champs always brings out, doesn't it, a few world records.
Perhaps unexpected sometimes as well.
Yeah, so I think Mondo would be one that if I was playing Fantasy League Athletics and I was putting someone on a captain.
1 centimetre though. 1
yes.
centimetre.
You won't take it any further than that. So
He's a smart man.
Yeah. But is it something on the athletes' minds? Do you think money, for someone who talks about also Jem about people not running maybe global marathons to come and run World Champs, so that might be part of their financial incentive is to get top 3 maybe.
I think so, and I think perhaps it's not that well spoken about in athletics. I don't think, in terms of what athletes earn. It's not the sport to be in unless you are the Josh Kerrs of this sport. It's not the sport to be in to earn a lot of money. So I think winning prize money at these sort of events is a massive incentive for athletes. You look at Grand Slam this year.
Yeah.
The talking point was the money. I mean, it didn't go quite to plan, but that was the incentive. Yeah, it was the incentive for a lot of athletes was to walk away with £100,000 or $100,000, and it makes a massive difference to kind of what you could do next year. You've got that extra money, so I do think it is on the minds of athletes.
Yeah, and I think from a different event groups, it also depends. Like it or not, certain events will have better sponsorship opportunity. So I think if you take some of the throws, then that money's going to be used very well because unfortunately the throwers are less likely to get sponsors. I think there's lots of reasons for that, but that will impact motivation. I think sometimes as well, going on the other side of it, when you do have competitions where you've got prize money up for grabs, say none of it makes sense to go and do it. It's different for World Champs, but if the cons are really outweighing the pros, sometimes that money maybe switches you to make the decision that maybe you wouldn't have made if it wasn't there. So I think, but everybody's going to be pushing it for World Champs, and I think it's just a cherry on top.
Absolutely. And this year we've got 4 Welsh athletes competing at the World Champs. Jeremiah Azu, Melissa Courtney-Bryant, Hannah Brier and Abigail Pawlett. Should we start with Jeremiah? He's going to kick off on the 100 metres. He's going to run the heats on Saturday the 13th of September at 12:35 p.m. in the UK. So that is a good viewing time for us.
We'll be all right with that
we will
one.
not have to set our alarms for the middle of the night. And he's had an incredible year so far. World Indoor 60-metre champion. He's become a dad. And I think he's rounding into the best shape of his life.
Yeah. Do you know what? I had a chat with him the other day, and I think I have talked about this before. But you can really see the professionalism in him coming through. We were talking, and he hadn't run the standard yet, but there was such a belief that he was going to, and that he had done it for the right time, for the right reasons, rather than going out there, getting a standard early, and then running out of steam. He's gone and achieved that 60-metre world champion status, which is just incredible.
Yeah.
Become a father, and then made sure he's ready for that right time. It's such a big stepping stone for him, and it's so exciting. You could just see it exuding from him. So I can't wait to see him what he can do.
And I'm a massive fan of his vlogs. I don't know if either of you have actually ever watched them, but he does give a true insight into what it is like to train and compete at the level he does, and the way he kind of processes things in order to get the results he wants. The last one he put out on YouTube kind of went through the process of chasing the standard. After coming second at British Champs, he had 3 weeks to try and run the standard to get that automatic selection for the World Champs. And the first time he did it, he didn't hit it, and he went back again. He went back to training. He went back to Stratford in the end to run the standard there. And I think kind of that mindset is what helps you become a champion. He can do it. Obviously, world indoor champ. Do you think he's got a chance of making the podium in Tokyo?
I think the 100 metres is one of those blue ribbon events
Absolutely.
at the World Champs that everyone will want to be world champion. But Jez, he's already been that this year.
Yeah.
He knows what it feels like.
Knows what it feels like. And he's starting. A couple of the last races, you see him staying there a bit longer. With Jez, he thrives around people, and I think the holding camp, he'd be loving life right now. I think Jez's best chance of a medal, though, might come in the relay. I think because we've got some real depth, some real quality. One of the people he beat in the final of the British Champs ran 9.87.
Yeah.
And that's just another member of the relay team. That's how good our relay team is. And they're also very well drilled. Relay teams aren't always about the fastest individuals.
No.
It's about how they're prepped, and with the likes of Darren Campbell and other people in that vicinity that have been there and done it. Darren himself, Olympic gold medalist in the 4x1. They've got such a good team around them that I actually think are one of our best chances, Jez's best chances of being world champion won't be in the individual. I think it will come in the 4x1.
Yeah, and you talk about Jez. I think it was Europeans maybe in 22. Do you remember? I think we had won a medal in the relay, and you watch that energy of him once he's given that baton off. It's incredible. You talk about energy, like not being a sprinter. I don't know what it's like to double up events.
Yeah.
So obviously, he's going for the relay and the individual, and that's 6 days apart. Like, what is that like, and what is the mindset that he needs to be kind of going through to go and try and achieve in both? Like, have you guys got any experience on double up in events?
I mean, they're so used to it by now. It's something that Jez has done through age groups. He's done through multiple championships. It is about staying in one piece. That's the hard thing, I think. On that level that they're trying to compete at. They're going to have to break 10 seconds to make the final, maybe even to get through that second round. That's how fast it's going to be. And obviously, it's about them staying healthy, and that's what we want, is them to be healthy through the rounds. But Jez, one of these people who seems to get better as he races as well.
He's a racer. Yeah. He really is.
He likes two rounds at least in the afternoon, doesn't he? Yeah. He likes to come out there, get the first one done, and come back and be even better.
So, and if it's about a bit, and also if the weather turns as well.
Yeah.
He's someone again that that 100-meter final might not be in beautiful weather. It could be the downpours that we saw in Manchester a couple of years ago.
He likes training in Nyack, which is you get all the weather up here.
Yeah.
And also for someone like Jez, who is in an individual event, right? But he is very team focused. When you come into the training environment, he's very caring. He's very, you can see he cares a lot about his individual training team, and I'm sure he can really take that into the relay. So switching from individual to team mindset, I think, is something that he can really do, and we've seen him do it in the past. So I'm excited to see that.
And also, it will go both ways. If he has a great individual comp, he used that as a real boost into the relay. Yeah. We saw last year with the Olympics when disaster struck and he got DQ'd, that he came back and came away with a bronze medal.
Do you think that'll be something that he'll really be kind of looking to prove himself against?
I think he did enough of that indoors. I think, but I think he, like anything, I think the sprinters are very good at not dwelling too much, because I suppose it would be like anything. If you overthought how much of a fine margin that sprint start is, and he practices it with Helen James, daily, all the time. So I'm pretty sure that I think he will want to make that final, that world final. When you're in that world final,
anything can happen.
Anything can happen. You got eight guys lining up in that 100-meter final. And if it's about heart, it's about knowing what to do on a big day. Then you're putting a little side bet on Jez and thinking you never know. You just never know. And
I love the animal he becomes. Yes. He changes so much in the best way. It's just.
And I don't think there would be there wouldn't be any sort of anyone that would begrudge him, and anyone that wouldn't be that's an amazing achievement.
He backs himself so much.
Yeah, but in not a arrogant way
no,
either.
In the best way.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, he's a competitor. And talking about competitors, one of our previous guests on here, Hannah Brier, what an amazing story. Being brought into the 4x4 pool, because obviously there's the mixed relay and there's obviously the women's 4x4 as well. So from someone that obviously made those Commonwealth Games in 2014, age 16, a career that's roller coasted, but then still smashed it over 100 metres this year on the track, showing the strength is translated into speed. If she did get to run, Jen, but even if not, what do you think about Hannah Brier at World Champs?
Well, I saw an interview of her with BBC Sport Wales a week or so ago, and she was shocked that she'd even made the team.
Yeah.
Over the moon, but I think she'd been on holiday and someone had like prompted her to like maybe take her trainers with her to keep training. So I think, getting that selection must have been like such a big moment for her. And we always talk or ask our athletes, like, what was the phone call like when you got selected for the Commonwealth Games? And I think this phone call may have perhaps even topped that for Hannah. So I think making the team, making a world team, like I said at the start, is like one of the hardest things to do. So her being on that team, and she's again someone who loves a kind of team environment, and she's such a nice person. I think
she's a really good lesson in consistency. Like, she has always stayed on it.
Yeah.
And this is why she's getting these selections. And you talk about being 2014 being her first big selection to now, like, it's because of that consistency of hard work, and it's just great to see that being paid off for her. And you said, like, if she does run, I know she's going to give it all.
She is. And she's probably got, there's two chances realistically. There's obviously the mixed relay, which is one of the first events, which is, Britain have a really good chance, of medaling in that. So, and there's interesting dynamics in terms of those that have individual events, whether they're going to run a mixed relay to start, because we're so used to relays, especially 4x4s being at the end of a championships, whereas obviously this precedes people's individual events. Yeah. But it's thinking about, we talked about the prize money, the prestige, the importance of British athletics having medals on the tally as well, because that helps with funding.
I was going to say, I don't think perhaps people realise how much funding is pumped into these relay teams as well, and their return on that investment are the medals they get at these championships.
Yeah.
Hence why we're strong.
Yeah,
and we really do.
Absolutely.
But to be strong in relays, you need a pool of people. So we'll be watching and waiting for those teams to be announced. But again, even if she's not in the starting quartet, there's 2 women, 2 men for the mixed relay, she could well be one of the reserves. And again, things can subtly happen in warm up. Yeah. Exactly. But then if she doesn't get the step on the track in that, then there's obviously hopefully the heats of the women's 4x4. Athletes might be tired having done their individuals, someone like Hannah with her experience. Yeah. And also what, talking to a few people about, obviously, the experience of relays is that speed she has now in being able to get out is a real bonus, because it gives her an ability to get into a position, almost get in front of people or get onto the back of a group if it's a pack. Yeah. Because she's now got speed.
Well, 100 metre PB the other day as well. It shows like
that she almost
where
seems
she's at.
She almost seems shocked she suddenly had this extra speed.
Yeah, and I wonder if that led to some of that selection as well.
Yes.
Like really proving that she's got a spectrum of speed there, and like she can really, really help the team out. And so that's why that she would be on both the mixed and then the women's 4x4. How would they go about kind of choosing the team, do you reckon? How will that holding camp process go?
Yeah.
Like a bit of an insight.
Well, I think that there's a lot of different factors. Yeah. Those that have been performing through the whole year. That if you take Hannah for example, there's runners that have been faster than her consistently through the year. But having a bit of experience in relays as well, so where people have, what people have done, last Olympics, previous world champs, but then also be coaches on the ground as well, watching how people are moving, watching some of the splits they're putting down, but also their interaction, how they're working as a team.
I was going to ask this question. Is there something to do with how people interact with each other on the track?
Yeah, group dynamics. It's probably historically, from my experience, it's been more so sometimes in the 4x1, where personalities and people have fallen out in groups. And again, if you want an in-sync quartet that are handing the baton over to a precision of microseconds, you don't want
can't have 2 enemies doing that together, can you?
No. Not really. But yeah, so there'd be lots of different factors in there, but also the legs as well that they're looking to run.
Yes,
in terms of some people are their first leg runners because they're used to starting in blocks. You want someone super consistent, and that can often be one of your best runners because you want to get in the mix. In a 4x4, if you're not in the mix, if you're miles away, unless you've got an absolute rock star, superstar of a 4x4 runner or 400 metre runner, you're out of the race. Whereas being able to draft and sit in the slipstream, which 400 metre runners don't get to do in their own individual lanes through the year, relays you do. And that's why sometimes on the second leg you put someone that has a bit of speed, because they break on the back straight of the second leg, and therefore if they've got that ability to get out. And that's why Jamie Balch, he always used to talk, that was his. He was second leg because he had that ability to get out sometimes and really spin those legs. So it's going to be fascinating to see those decisions.
And on Thursday, the 18th of September, we've got Melissa Courtney-Bryant taking place in the 5,000 metre heats. This will be her third World Championships, which is an incredible achievement in itself. She's gone from the 1,500 metres and now up to the 5K. And she ran a Welsh record at the beginning of this year. She ran 14:48. But I do believe she's had a few interruptions since then. And this selection, I think, came off more of a discretionary place than performing at the trials. She didn't attend. So it'll be interesting to see what sort of shape she's in and how she'll handle kind of the heats and hopefully the final of the World Champs.
Well, I think with someone like Melissa, because she's been there and done it before, she's not going to want to just turn up to make the numbers up.
No.
So, she's such a good performer on her day. We've seen it at Commonwealth Games, seen it at European indoors, seen it at previous World Champs as well. So she knows what to do. Obviously, she hasn't had a perfect build-up. She wasn't one of the athletes up in St Moritz, so I don't have inside information about how she's in, the shape she's in. But Rob Denmark, her coach, super experienced. They've been together as a partnership for multiple years. She's not taking anyone's place. Some selections where you've got 3 spots and you've got 4, 5, 6, 7 people with times. She hasn't taken anyone's slot. She's got her own spot in the team, which means that there's no noise around her selection, having not run the champs. So hopefully, sometimes a quiet build-up. If it can be a nice way of going slightly under the radar. She's got great speed, and sometimes in heats, it's about having a change of gear in the last kind of 4 laps of a 5K. Just hope she has actually managed to get a bit of consistency, because with any of us, if you hit that form and then you pick up an injury or illness, you're chasing that deadline, aren't you? And it's
that
frustrating.
Weight of pressure on yourself.
It's the pressure, and knowing the shape you were in as well can play on you as well. So it's taking those setbacks, hopefully, and building them. And if she gets on that start line even 98% healthy, she can make that final.
Absolutely.
100%. And also, we talked about it earlier about the holding camp, and, that's what this is for, having that time to really get yourself into that mode. And, we all believe in her, and if she's there, if she's ready to go, like you said, if she's 98% there, we all believe that she can make that final. So it'll be exciting to see her. And once you're in the final, we've seen anything.
And
absolutely.
5K is an event I'm really interested to watch, kind of coming from that distance myself. And I think it can go so many ways. You can be perhaps the fastest runner, but you might not make the final if you haven't got the gear change. And I think that's something is in Millie's armoury. She's she's come from that 1,500 metre background. She's broken 4 minutes for the 1,500 metres. And I think with the conditions in Tokyo as well, I can't see the heats being a fast race. It's going to be a slow sit and kick, and I think that will play into her hand.
It'll be interesting. Obviously, I'm not a endurance runner, but how the separation of the heats, how does that kind of impact kind of who's getting to the final? And it could just completely tip down in between heats, or there could be a complete change, or it just slower. How does that affect your preparation going into competition?
So correct me if I'm wrong, but they used to do heats where it'd be like the top 4 qualify, and then you have a host of fastest losers. But I think for the World Champs, they don't play by those rules anymore.
They're just going auto cues now in terms of, I think it'd be maybe first 8 I think, in the 5,000. So if there's 2 heats,
top 8 from each.
It's basically top 8.
Which I think makes it a much fairer kind of process in getting to the heats.
As long as the seeding's done well.
Yeah, so long as the seeding's done well, which perhaps at British Champs in the men's 1,500 it wasn't.
It can be different on people's season's best.
Yes.
People get to World Champs now. There's so many different avenues of getting there.
Yeah.
Sometimes it can be. You can look at some heat sheets and go, oh, it's the same with throwing pools as well. You look at it and go, wow. But yours are pretty much, there's a distance where if you hit, I think you're still automatically in the final.
Yeah, so there's a distance auto cue, but then even throwing, sometimes they'll have people throwing at the same time, different cages. That's been a problem in the past. I know that, and then different time of the day. Heat makes a huge impact. Humidity is a huge impact on throwing implements, and then you've got the qualification standards. The in throwing recently we've had Oklahoma wins. That's where people have gone to go and qualify, but it's something crazy amount of people have thrown 70 meters this year. So actually, if you're seeding off that, like some of the really big dogs in the throws world haven't gone there.
Yeah.
So they might have thrown really far in nowhere near as good conditions.
Yeah.
So then the seeding sometimes is a little bit off. And I wonder if you guys, have that in some of the endurance races in the 5,000, and the seeding can be a bit off, much like the throws.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see when that you always, as an athlete, looking for those seeding sheets. And once upon a time, you'd be looking for who was a front runner, and if you were in the fastest heat, where your heat might be the fastest.
Yeah, or you'd want to be the second heat out of two
to watch the
what
first
happens.
heat. So it makes it interesting. I think swimming's done it for years, where it's just been auto positions.
Yeah,
and it does make it much about all about racing. Doesn't matter about the time. You could run 17 minutes and make the final of the women's 5,000 meters if you finish in the top 8. You could run 14:20 and finish 9th. You're not in the final. So it does make it. There's a bit of jeopardy there, and you've seen even last year watching the Paris Olympics, there were some people that got knocked out that were good enough to make the final. But there's no way. There's no little extra back door of making it as a little queue as we used to have.
I love watching the 5,000, 10,000 for the tactical nature of it. Like, it is very different from my sport, so it's really cool to see how that kind of unfolds. And then finally, our fourth Welsh athlete is Abby Pawlett, and we were very lucky to have her on the show. She's making a senior debut. How do you think she's feeling? We talked to her, and she was nervous or kind of frustrated by the system, the point system, but she got there. We all knew that. How do you think she's feeling?
She'll be over the moon. I think she rightfully deserves a place kind of on this team and in this competition. And it's great to see, I think, 3 heptathletes from the GB team going out to compete there. And the likes of KJT is there, and she said she's looked up to her, and I think for her now to be going out there with her as a teammate in the same competition will only bring the best out in her. Yeah,
it was a roller coaster because she had to wait until the last of the Diamond League events to be concluded, and obviously that's different ways of getting there through rankings and points. Obviously, currently 6th on the all-time list in the UK with a score of 6,320 points. She would definitely want to and look to improve that, but probably just had to learn to be in that environment and to see the world's best. And they're a bit of a family, aren't they? The heptathletes and multi-eventers. They're very much a community. You see that. But how much do you think she'll learn from this for the future?
An awful lot. And I think even going from like the European under 23s this year, where she got a silver medal, to then that step up into the senior ranks, I think kind of navigating that as an athlete is really, really hard. And I think this is like the perfect opportunity for her to kind of take that first step and kind of immerse herself in the world champs. I don't think she's going to go there with the mindset, I'm here to make up the numbers, I just want to learn a little bit. She's going there to compete. She wants to give her best performance. And I think she kind of alluded to the fact that she is perhaps kind of in that sort of PB shape and kind of looking to press on. So I think for her, this will be a really valuable experience, kind of looking towards the next Olympics, I guess, and that's where the ultimate, the goal is going to be for her. And I think kind of the Commonwealth Games next year, and then the Olympics will only kind of help her kind of progress.
I'm always excited to see people making their debut, because it's the one, if they get it right, where they can really go and outperform. And there's nothing better than seeing someone get after it and overperform in a situation no one thought they were going to, but they did. It's just the best. And that's what I'll be looking forward to seeing events.
And also sprint hurdles is her first event and one of her strongest events. And that could hopefully settle the nerves.
Yes.
Get her on a good position on the leaderboard to start with. And then it's like, right, I'm in this. So, let's hope for a sub 13 clock in. If it's nice weather, to be super competitive in those hurdles. And then you never know, you get, you just get a bit carried away. The crowd, the noise, the atmosphere, how close to that top 10. She must have an eye thinking, that, top 10 in the world would be something special.
Pretty phenomenal.
And the age she's at, her progression, as you said, Common Games next year, it's a super exciting time for Abby.
And she exudes confidence when we had her on, that you definitely felt like she knows she's going to go If she gets that selection, she's going to go and do.
And her coach Ashley Bryant,
I was
obviously
just about to say,
Melissa's husband. So he's going to be watching half an eye on the track.
Hopefully the events don't clash.
Yeah. But again, just shows you, like, there's some great stories to this championships, and some great partnerships, and often the coaches are some of the unsung heroes. And with Abby, I know she's obviously got other people as well in that team, because when you're prepping for multiple events, there must be so many different people. That she's kind of like thankful for. But I think we can't wait to see how she does.
Yeah, I'm really excited.
Yeah, I saw a post, I think it might have been British Athletics, and they were posting, it might have been World Champs in 2013, and it was KJT's first World Champs, I believe. It might not have been, I might be wrong, but it was exciting to see KJT young.
Yes.
Obviously, and do you know what I mean? It'd be exciting to see.
Yeah.
Kind of, you can see where she's taking it, and where then Abby can go, and then obviously she's selected alongside her. So, even if it's just vicariously through being around her in World Champs, she's going to learn a hell of a lot of her. So that's going to be really exciting to see, and good for us, obviously, for next year, her learning that kind of stuff going into Commonwealth Games. Cards on the table.
Yeah.
If you had to guess, which of these athletes do you think has a chance of making the podium?
Well, we were chatting about this, off air, and I think middle distance wise at the moment, I think in terms of Great Britain, I think 800. I think we're very strong, especially on the women's side. Keeley, Olympic champion, coming in. You've got Georgia Hunter-Bell, who was Olympic medalist last year, and then you've got Gemma Reekie, a world indoor medalist as well. And then you've got the likes of Max Bergen in the men's, who has a great chance. But we would have loved, obviously, to have seen Justin Davis in that team as well, who just missed out. But he's important to recognise he's still a reserve for that team. In Gillingham at the weekend, he ran 145. So he's still putting his letting people know that if something was to happen,
he's there and he's ready.
He can still come in. And we're still about 10 days away from the men's 800. And things can still happen. We talked about that as well.
We look at
still
Clara.
In holding camps.
Clara,
Yes.
a week before the marathon, which
So anything could still happen. And again, you never know. It's could get a late call up, and and that could be a dramatic fifth member. But no, I think for me, I'm going to go. The 800s. Jen, what about yourself?
I'm a massive Mondo Duplantis fan, so I'd
that's
love
a cop out. Come on,
love to see him get a medal. I'm pretty sure that's
medal and a world
99.9% guaranteed.
Yeah. What about the Brits though? What about the Brits? Who do you think on the British team has a chance of getting on that podium?
I really think KJT.
Yes.
I think she's got a great opportunity to get on that podium. And I can't remember what year it was. It must have been like 2015, 2018, where she had that long jump foul. And I think she set it as a screensaver on the back of a laptop or whatever.
Yeah.
And I think since then, she's really shown us that she is the real deal. And she's always a really exciting competitor to watch. Men's 400, I think Matthew Hudson-Smith's got a great chance of...
What did he used to call you at
Preppy.
UK school games?
So many moons ago,
Your
he used
old
to call me
UK
Preppy.
school teammate. And again, what an amazing athlete, what an amazing story.
Yeah.
And again, an amazing competitor.
Absolutely.
And again, he'd be someone in that individual, individual 400, but also in the relay as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
So no, I think he'll be a great watch, and he's also become a father this year, I believe.
Yeah.
So
what about yourself, Harrison? Who your eyes on?
I'm going with Jez, obviously. I back my man.
Yeah.
I think he's come in there. He's just that conversation I had with him. I just there's something going on there.
Yeah.
I think he's really building. He's done it right. He's just. I think he's nailed this season. Sometimes people want to see all these performances all the time. Mm-hmm. But it seems like he's building really nicely, and I'm always going to back a Welshman. But
any other global superstars you're excited to see?
So, well, I'm going to talk about some of the British throws guys.
Yeah.
Anyway, and then I'll move on to some of the global ones. I think Anna Purchase is in good shape, and I think she's training with the world champ every day. And I honestly, I think she can go and do something really special. I think you've got Jake Norris as well in the hammer. As well. He's in good form. Always exciting to see. I think you've got Lawrence Okoye, one of the best athletic talents I think we've ever had.
An enigma, isn't it?
Had in the UK, right?
Yeah.
He's gone and broken the British record this year.
Yeah.
He went and broke the British champs record in in British Champs, and he was in some incredible form.
Yeah.
He just was missing it.
Yeah.
You know when you're around an athlete and you think, wow, if you get this...
Is it timing? Is it just mindset on the day?
A couple of things. I think his mindset has come a hell of a long way. Like, I think if he's one of those athletes that all the other athletes around him, all the other throwers, they think, if you get this right today, we're in trouble.
Yeah.
And he's come into some form, but also mentally, I think he's in a really strong place. Unfortunately, like, he's had swings between not making champs, fouling out, and then going and doing quite well. But I think he's always one you've got to put a little bit of money on, because it could happen. So that's really exciting. Scott Lincoln obviously making the team as well. You know, he is Mr. Consistent, and if that rain comes down, tell you what, no, genuinely, I think he's got a really good chance of getting somewhere there. And then internationally, you know, look at the shot put, and you've got Krauser. You know, you wouldn't bet against Krauser. The American system, the way they run it, you know, you've got people not making teams that are so talented, like Kovacs not making a team.
Wow.
World champion, not making teams. So, and then discus at the moment for the men is just unbelievable. You've got Alekna and Che fighting it out, and then women's shot is in there's so much throwing I could talk about. I would say I would love to watch the men's discus final. I think that's the one that's going to be the one I'm going to be really tuning in for. I think Alekna, Denny, Che, all these people going at it.
Anyone else other than Mondo?
Well, my next question was going to be, do you think we'll see any world records? And
I think Mondo,
he is
Mondo's
my man. Like,
he's our banker. Yeah.
but any others? I know these sort of champs throw up so many performances that perhaps we don't necessarily think will produce a world record. I think Sydney McLaughlin is doing the 400 this year.
Yeah.
Rather than the 400 hurdles. And I think that would be a really interesting watch. And I think if she gets it right on the day, she could go close to a world record.
Yeah, there's a few records, and given the standards now, I think I looked at a stat the other day, and it's 15 runners inside 143 men's 800 metres right now. David Rudisha's world record looked, you know, a long way away for a few years. You know, if you did get a really, you know, brisk final, you know, there could be a few guys that could be touching upon that. You know, and there's a few other events. You just think the quality of runners, the quality of throwers, the quality of jumpers in those events. I mean, I was saying, you know, about my memories of 1991, and you guys looked at me like I was old. But I remember seeing one of the greatest ever long jump competitions between Carl Lewis, who was the 100-metre champion at the time for the USA, and Mike Powell, who was this flamboyant, another American. And they both edged the world record up in one competition, and they were literally trading it off. And the world record for Mike Powell still stands now. But it was because they were battling it out. The noise of the stadium was coming through the TV. I remember getting goosebumps just thinking, this is amazing. I was 13 at the time. I'd obviously started my journey in athletics, but this was wow. And then we had the men's 4x4 was won by a British team. And you had a Chris Akabusi on last leg, who was a 400-metre hurdler going against the world champion for the 400 flat, and he ran him down. And it was, again, about emotions. It was about, on that day, raising your game. And this team became like a household team. And I remember, again, just thinking, you know, that is something special. So I think we're going to see some special performances. I think we're going to see a few people raise their games. And I think hopefully those young athletes, Jen, are going to be inspired.
I think so, and I think perhaps one person we've perhaps failed to mention here is Keely Hodgkinson. She's rebounded from her injury. She ran that amazing time in her first season opener. Yeah. Could she get a world record? I know they've been trying to get it.
She's not a million miles
She's not
away.
a million miles off.
And that final might be about actually just getting out there
and seeing how fast she can run.
And putting it out there in terms of, running to her strengths. Yeah. But it's always difficult after 3 rounds.
Yeah.
And obviously maybe because of the injury that she had, maybe she's missed some of the block.
But she's also coming in very fresh.
She is as well.
I think
Jen's
watch
tip.
Watch this space.
But also, like, it's a year after the Olympics.
Yeah.
And I know sometimes in the throws you see a little bit of dip in some of the absolute distance. I wonder if that's the case in some of the other events that you've seen. Like, looking at world records, we got Mondo probably going to try and get one. But I wonder, is it less likely to see them the year after Olympic Games? I don't know what you think.
I think we've got athletes. Some got their timing wrong last year.
Okay.
Others are on that crest of a wave. And then you got Mondo that just does it whenever he wants to do it. So, in terms of the action, it kicks off on Saturday. BBC Two, I think it's 9:30 to 11:45 on that first morning, and then we're going to be getting our coffees in, getting some sweet stuff in, because it's 11:55 till 4:10 is the next session. So again, we're going to be keeping our eyes peeled. We're going to be cheering our voices off, and I said, hopefully the young athletes as well, especially they get inspired by the likes of Jeremiah. We've got Abby, Melissa, and Hannah, and so we wish them all the very best, and all of the British team as well, competing out in Tokyo. So it's going to be super exciting.
Can't wait.
Yeah. Good luck to everyone.
Good luck.
And it's not just the World Athletics Champs that are starting this weekend. There's also more action back in the UK. And kicking things off are the British and Irish Junior Mountain International. The Wales are hosting, and they're taking a Welsh under-20 and under-17 team, including Amelia Williams, Kai David, and Matthew Benson. So another great race to watch out for.
Yeah, good luck for them. And also on Sunday, the 14th, is the Swansea Bay 10K. Look out again, Darry Griffiths will be on the streets, won't he? And probably a fellow GB international, Josh Griffiths, will be chasing him down. And Owen Terrell in the wheelchair. We hope, no punches this time around.
Let's hope
over
so.
10K,
Yeah, another wheelchair athlete competing is Toby Richardson in Stoke Mandeville, which is an absolute epicentre of parasport. Obviously, that's where it started. So it'd be great for him to race there. And I think he's going back-to-back as well, competing in the 8 the day after. So that'd be pretty amazing. But for one para-athlete to another, you've got James Ledger, who is obviously brilliant on our show
Thoroughly
last
enjoyed
time.
his conversation.
He's competing at the Stratford Speed Grand Prix 5, so that'll be good luck to him.
Yeah, I'll be looking out for that result.
Yeah, definitely, especially after the great
conversation.
show we had. Yeah.
And that is it for this week's episode. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share with a friend, and we'll be back next week with another guest.